What's up, my friends, and welcome back to the Influence Exchange. As always, thank you for pressing play. Thank you for watching on YouTube. Thank you for listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you tune in. I truly appreciate you spending part of your day here with me. If you're new to this podcast, welcome. I'm happy you found your way here. I'm your host, JV. This podcast is a space for honest conversations about real life, not perfect life, no hype, no pretending we have everything figured out, just awareness, growth, and learning how to understand ourselves a little better. Today's episode starts with a simple question. Have you ever missed someone, but at the same time knew you didn't actually want them back? You don't reach out. You don't want to restart the relationship. You're not trying to rewind your life, but something still feels heavy. A memory shows up out of nowhere. A song plays. You drive past a place. You remember a laugh, a conversation, a version of life that felt simpler. And suddenly, you catch yourself thinking, why do I still feel this? Here's where most people get confused. They assume they miss the person, but sometimes you don't miss the person. You miss who you were when they were in your life. You miss the phase, the comfort, the routine, the identity you had during that chapter. Because certain people aren't just connected to memories, they're connected to a version of you that no longer exists the same way. And your mind keeps trying to revisit it, not because you want the relationship back, but because you want to understand the feeling. So today, we're going to slow this down and make sense of it. In this episode, we'll talk about why memories feel stronger than reality, why reconnecting rarely feels how you imagine, why closure usually doesn't come from another conversation, and how to move forward without pretending the past didn't matter. This isn't about forgetting people, it's about understanding why certain memories hold weight and how to carry them without staying stuck in them. So take a breath, clear your mind for a moment, and stay with me. Let's get into it. All right, my friends, let's start here because this is where most of the confusion begins. When people say, I think I still miss them, what they're usually describing isn't the full reality of the relationship. They're remembering moments, and our minds are very selective with moments. We don't replay the ordinary days. We don't replay the tension, the misunderstandings, the doubts, or the parts that slowly pushed you apart. We replay the highlights, the late conversations, the jokes only the two of you understood, the comfort of knowing someone was there, the feeling of closeness. Your brain edits the story into a highlight reel. And here's the important part. Memory is emotional, not fractional. Your mind doesn't store relationships like a recording. It stores how certain moments felt. So over time, the emotional perks stay clear and the emotional friction fades. That's why, months or even years later, the memory feels warm and simple. Not because it actually was simple, but because your mind removed the complicated parts. Why this can be misleading? When you compare your life today to a memory from the past, you're not comparing equal things, you're comparing your real life with responsibilities, uncertainty, growth, and change to a softened memory that's been edited over time. Of course, the memory feels easier. The problems aren't in it anymore. So your mind starts saying, maybe it wasn't that bad. Maybe I let go of something good. Maybe I should reach out, but most of the time, you're not missing the relationship, you're missing the feeling of closeness. Closeness feels safe. People naturally relax around what they recognize. Even if it wasn't perfect, your mind understood how it worked. You knew their habits, their reaction, their patterns. There was less uncertainty. So when life changes, new routines, new responsibility, new phases, your brain looks backwards for stability. Not because the part was better, but because it was known. Sometimes you're not missing the person, you're missing the version of life that felt predictable. A simple reality check, and think about this. If you truly wanted the relationship back, you wouldn't just want the memories, you'll want the full reality, including the parts that didn't work. But the fact is, most people don't. They want the feeling without the friction, the comfort without the problems, and that's when you realize you're not missing the person, you're processing a chapter of your life. So before you tell yourself, I still have feelings, pause and ask, am I missing them or remembering a time when life felt different? Understanding the different changes everything. So in the next topic, we'll talk about why going back rarely feels the way you imagine, even when the memories feel strong. All right, my friends, now let's talk about the part a lot of people quietly wonder, if I reach out, would it feel like it used to? And the honest answer most of the time is no. Not because either person is bad, not because the connection was fake, but because time changes context. You didn't just leave the relationship behind, you left a version of yourself behind too. You're not the same person anymore. Think about who you were back then. Your priorities were different, your habits were different, even your patience and expectations were different. Since then, life has moved forward. You have learned, healed, and changed how you respond to situations. So going back doesn't place you in the same space. You're bringing a new mindset into an old dynamic, and that almost always feels unfamiliar. The other person changed too. This is the part people often overlook. While you were growing, they were as well. Their routine shift, their perspective evolved, even their comfort level with you may be different now. That instant closeness, the feeling that nothing ever changed, rarely comes back. It belonged to a specific moment in both of your lives, and time has moved on. So why expectation lead to disappointment? When people reconnect, they often carry an unspoken hope. I hope it feels like it used to, but then you're not only hoping for the person, you're hoping for the ease, the closeness, and the emotional certainty that once came with it. So when it feels even a little different, even if the conversation goes well, you notice the gap. You start thinking, something feels off. This isn't how I remembered it. Maybe we changed. The connection wasn't imagined. You just can't reconnect a moment that belonged to a different season of your life. And the real reason it feels strange, here's the simplest way to understand it. Memories stay still, people don't. Your mind held onto the relationship at its most comfortable part while both of you continue to change. So when the present meets the memory, they don't perfectly align. That's why reconnecting often feels quieter than emotional, more polite than natural, and more reflective than exciting. Not worse, just different. And here is a helpful question to ask yourself. Before you act on that feeling of looking back, pause and ask, am I hoping to build something new or trying to reconnect something old? One can exist in the present, the other lives only in memory. And in the next topic, we'll talk about why these feelings tend to appear at certain moments and what they may actually be telling you. Alright, now we get to the deeper part. Those pullback feelings don't show up randomly. They usually appear when something in your present feels uncertain. Not always bad, not always lonely, just unsettled. And your mind starts looking for something familiar. That pull towards the past is comfort, not direction. When life feels busy, stressful, or unclear, your brain naturally looks backward, not to return, but to feel steady again. You remember the old routines, the easy conversations, the people who understood you without much explanation. And your mind interrupts that as maybe that's where I belong. But what you're really missing isn't the situation, it's the feeling of closeness. And why it shows up during transitions? Notice when those thoughts tend to appear, usually it's when you're entering a new phase, outgrowing something, unsure about a decision, or starting fresh in part of your life. Your mind looks for something certain, something it already understands, not because the past was perfect, but because it was familiar. There are no unknown outcomes there anymore, and the brain naturally leans towards certainty. And the mind's highlight reel. Here's another important piece. We rarely remember the full reality. We remember the best moments. The laughs, the comfort, the connection stays clear, while the tension, the confusion, and the laughs, the reasons things change fade into the background. Over time, the past begins to look simpler than it really was. Not because you're being dishonest with yourself, but because memory tends to protect emotion. What those pullback feelings are really asking. Instead of asking, should I go back? Try asking, what feeling am I needing right now? Often it comes down to wanting connection, certainty, understanding, or emotional rest. Sometimes your mind links the need to a specific person when it's really pointing to something missing in your present life. A small shift in perspective. The next time that pull towards the past shows up, don't treat it like a command, treat it like a message. It isn't always telling you to reopen a door. Sometimes it's guiding you to create something new that brings the same feeling into your present life. So, in the next topic, we'll talk about how to tell the difference between a memory to appreciate and a door to reopen. Stay with me, my friends. Alright, this is the part that helps you decide what to do next. Remembering isn't the problem. The confusion comes from not knowing how to handle the feeling that follows. So let's keep it simple. Not every memory is a signal to go back. Some memories are just reminders of what once mattered to you. After talking with a few people about this topic, I want to share 4 mindset steps that can help bring clarity to you. Step number 1. Ask, do I miss the person or the feeling? This is the key question. Sometimes you're not missing the situation itself. You're missing how relaxed you felt, how understood you felt, and how simple life seemed during that time. Your mind links the feeling to a person or place because that's where you experienced it. But the feeling and the situation aren't always the same. If the peace came from who you were then, going back won't recreate it now. Step number 2. Look at how it ended honestly. This is where clarity begins. Instead of replaying only the good moments, pause and ask, where did it change in the first place? Not emotionally, factually. Was there miscommunication, ongoing stress, lack of effort doing different priorities, or were you simply growing in different directions? Growth often closes what comfort once kept together, and remembering the good doesn't remove the reason it stopped working. Step number 3. Consider who you are today. You're not the same person who lived that memory. Your needs have changed, your boundaries have changed, your awareness has changed. So the real question is, would this still fit the person I am now, or only the person I used to be? Sometimes memories try to connect your present self to a chapter that no longer matches your life. That's why going back can feel confronting at first, but heavy afterward. Step number 4. Try the peace test. Here's a simple check you can use anytime. When you think about reconnecting or going back, pay attention to how you feel. Do you feel calm or anxious? Clear or conflicted? Steady or pulled in different directions? Peace usually signals alignment. Confusion often means the memory is louder than the present. Your body often knows the answer before your thoughts catch up. I will pause for a second. If you're watching on YouTube, pay attention to the captions regarding the 4 mindset steps. Follow along and rewind if you have to. A simple takeaway: not every closed door is meant to open again. Some close because they taught you something, and the purpose wasn't to return. It was to carry the lesson with you. You don't have to resist those pullback feelings. You just have to understand them. Once you recognize whether you missed the feeling or the life itself, your next step becomes clearer. Before we end today, we'll bring this together with one simple way to honor the past without living it. All right, my friends, let's land this plane together. Today wasn't really about the past. It was about understanding why the past can sometimes feel louder than the present. Memories are powerful. They don't just remind you what happened, they show you what mattered. And that's an absolutely good thing. But here's the reminder: you don't have to return to something just because it once felt right. You can appreciate it and still outgrow it. Some chapters are meant to be remembered, not reopened. A simple way to apply this in everyday life. The next time a memory comes up, and it sure will, pause and ask, what is this showing me right now? Not, should I go back? But, what did this give me that I could carry forward? Maybe it taught you how you want to be treated. Maybe it showed you what peace feels like. Maybe it clarified what you won't overlook anymore. The past doesn't always pull you backward. Sometimes it guides you forward with clearer understanding. Let's keep this simple for a moment. Here's your small challenge this week. When that pull from the past shows up, Don't reach out right away. Give it 24 hours. If you still feel clear after that, then think about it. If the feeling fades, you likely missed the moment, not the situation. A simple rule: emotion moves quickly, truth stays steady. Before I go, I want to say thank you for pressing play. Thank you for watching on YouTube. Thank you for listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere this podcast shows up. This podcast works because you show up, and I never take that lightly. And listen, I want this to be a real conversation, not just me talking at you. If you've got a story, a lesson you learned the hard way, something you're working through, or even a question you want to talk about, please come on this podcast. Seriously. Send me a DM on Instagram or TikTok at The Influence Exchange, or use the fan mail link in the episode description and we will set it up. With no scripts, no pressure, just real conversations. Subscribe, leave a review, and remember, your influence grows every time you choose courage over comfort. I'm JV. Stay curious, stay consistent, and keep influencing others. Thank you for watching, and thank you for listening. Peace out.